Velkommen til universitetsaulaen. Welcome to the university aula. Ved evakuering nødutganger gjennom hoveddører bak og sidedør lengst bak i salen. Alle skal gå rolig ned og ut til samlingsplassen foran museet ved Kristi-statuen. In case of an emergency, evacuation exits are in the back and by the farther side door of the room. Everyone has to walk out calmly and gather in front of the museum by the Christi statue. Takk for oppmerksomheten. Thank you for your attention.
Your Excellencies, honorary doctors, welcome to this ceremony in the honor of University of Bergen's new doctoris honoris causa. The degree, the honorary degree, Doctor Honoris Causa, is the highest form of recognition given by any institution of higher learning. It is a recognition of outstanding scholarly achievements, for achievements in the arts, for society. Honoris causa is a Latin phrase meaning for the sake of the honor. Also the phrase ad honorem, to the honor, is commonly used. The term doctor is derived from the ancient formalism licentia docendi, meaning license to teach. So, today simply it's my pleasure to honor you with the license to teach. Perhaps it sounds less impressive phrased in the English language rather than in the Latin. I suppose that is why we still are fond of a few Latin phrases at occasions like this, even in a modern academic world. Since most of you have been teaching in the very broadest sense of the meaning of the word for quite some years, you should regard the honorary degree conferred upon you here today as our university's highest recognition of your achievements in your respective lines of work. The tradition of awarding honorary doctorates or honorary degrees in the academic world is an old one. It likely dates back to medieval times. As the earliest known honorary degree was granted to Lionel Woodville, later Bishop of Salisbury, by the University of Oxford in the late 1470s. In the 16th century, granting honorary degrees became quite common on the occasion of royal visits to Oxford. Yesterday, we reopened the University Museum here in Bergen, an occasion where they were awarding honorary degrees, at least to my opinion. The very first honorary doctoral degree at the University of Bergen was conferred upon Olav Dahl back in 1952, an engineer and air pilot who started his career as a crew member of Roald Amundsen's Maud expedition through the Northeast Passage. From being a polar explorer in the early 19th century, he later became quite instrumental in the preparation of establishing CERN in Geneva. For his achievements, in addition to becoming being an honorary doctor at our university, he was also given the highest recognition by the American Association for the Advancement of Science. And also he became commander of the Royal Norwegian St. Olaf Order and the Dutch Oranje Nassau Order. In later years, to name a few, the former Prime Minister of Norway, Gro Harlem Brundtland, former US Vice President Walter Mondale, world-acclaimed pianist Leif Ove Ansnes, the internationally renowned author Jon Fosse, and the Nobel laureates in medicine or physiology, May-Britt Moser and Edward Moser, have all been given the same honor, as you will have today. This week, as mentioned, we not only honor outstanding achievements, but also celebrate the reopening of the University Museum after 6 years of renovation. A grand opening, if I may say so, yesterday, with Prime Minister Erna Solberg and Minister of Research and Higher Education Iselin Nybø, both alumni from our university, present. They took part in the event, and the honorary doctorates were guests of honor. It was an extraordinary day, as this day is as well. Well, yesterday it was extraordinary not because we reopened any museum, not any exhibition. Yesterday we celebrated the very core, the soul, the roots of the University of Bergen, what it is simply all about. When the Norwegian Parliament back in 1946 decided to establish Norway's second university, and that was here in Bergen, they pointed to the scholarly activities that had been ongoing at the Bergen Museum since its opening in 1825. And it was here that Fridtjof Nansen, the later internationally acclaimed polar explorer, diplomat, Nobel Peace Prize laureate, conducted his neurobiological studies in the hagfish. And it was also here that Gerhard Henrik Armaur Hansen discovered the bacteria causing leprosy 8 years before Robert Koch discovered the bacteria causing tuberculosis. To pay respect to what Bergen Museum has represented, the crest of the University of Bergen is inspired by the crest of the museum, with the owl symbolizing wisdom at the center. Already from the very beginning, the founding fathers of the Bergen Museum, with the first president of the Norwegian Parliament, Wilhelm Frymann Cohen-Christie, in lead, realized that the museum should be more than a collection, more than an exhibition. They were truly inspired by the ideas of the Enlightenment in Europe. Consequently, they also wanted to contribute to the education of the public, to building of a nation. In the essay answering the question, what is enlightenment, the German philosopher Immanuel Kant underlines the importance of people being given the freedom to use their own intellect. Kant argued that it is not the lack of intellect that hampers the Enlightenment. It is the lack of necessary preconditions created by rulers and those in power. One might think that with massification of higher education and a highly educated public, the goals and the vision of the Enlightenment must surely have been met long ago. However, according to Steven Pinker, professor of psychology at Harvard University, well, it's not so. In his book, Enlightenment Now, he argues that the values of the Enlightenment are under threat even in modern societies. He makes the case for the values of reason, science, and humanism. And according to Pinker, these are the three core values of the Enlightenment. Yes, the book has received mixed critiques. But when we look at the growth of populism in politics, alternative facts, fake news, and at the same time a decline in trust, in expertise, in research, well, it is easy to support Pinker making the case for those values, for reason, for science, for humanism. In September 2017, at the Sorbonne University in Paris, surrounded by young and inspired students, President Emmanuel Macron outlined his vision for the future of Europe. And in his speech, he also made a case for pretty much the same values, when he argued that what Europe needs is trust and respect for independent research in guiding and informing policy making. He said, and I quote, "Science must provide information on the dangers, but also independently and transparently indicate scientifically proven alternatives." This is what he said about the role of research related, for example, to societal challenges. Today, on this occasion, here in the University Aula, we pay tribute to and honor our new doctors, our new doctores honoris causa, and the ideals of the founders of the Bergen Museum, and those who have fostered and defended critical thinking and reasoning, the very core to any institution of higher learning. Your Excellencies, honorary doctors, congratulations on this event, on this day, to you, and thank you for your attention.
Honorary doctors, dear colleagues and friends, it's a joy and honor to lead you through the honorary degree awards ceremony today. First of all, thank you, Rector, for your speech. Thanks also for to our musicians from Grieg Academy. We heard our procession fanfare played by Torstein Holmås on the trumpet, William Antun on trumpet, Emilie Synnøve Liknes on trombone, and Mathias Matland on percussion. Heartily thank you also to Christian Grøvlen, who played sonata in B minor of Christian Sinding. We will now begin the honorary degree award ceremony. I ask, therefore, Professor Jørgen Sejersted, Dean of the Faculty of Humanities, to enter the podium.
Honored guests, Rector. Upon the recommendation of the Faculty of Humanities, the University Board has decided to confer an honorary doctorate upon the following person, Professor Toril Moi. Would Professor Moi please now approach the podium? Toril Moi is a James B. Duke Professor of Literature and Romance Studies and Professor of English, Philosophy and Theatre Studies at Duke University. Moi is also Director of the Center of Philosophy, Arts and Literature at Duke, and she is Adjunct Research Professor at Norway's National Library. Her career started at the University of Bergen, where she studied and earned her doctorate in 1985 with a dissertation on gender theory and comparative literature. Moi has been a leading researcher in the field of comparative literature, both nationally and internationally, since the 1980s. Her first book, Sexual Textual Politics, Feminist Literary Theory, from 1985, is today regarded a classic that has been translated into 15 languages and has made a profound influence on literary studies. In 1994, Moi published a seminal work on Simone de Beauvoir, The Making of an Intellectual Woman, translated into 5 languages, not only highlighting this philosopher, but also reflecting on the conditions of being an intellectual woman, and thus inspiring readers all over the world. Moi has also published an influential reinterpretation of Ibsen and modernism, causing debate in Norway and receiving prestigious awards in the United States. Her more recent work is groundbreaking theoretical reflections on the relationship between ordinary language, philosophy, and literature, as manifested in the highly original work Revolution Against the Ordinary from 2017, potentially transforming the field of literary studies yet again. Several of Moi's texts have become international classics in various subjects. She is by far the most influential Norwegian literary scholar today. Throughout her writing, she has demonstrated a special ability to write texts which in innovative and thought-provoking ways unites insights from philosophy, feminism, literature, and aesthetics. In addition to her research, Moi personifies the ideal of a true public intellectual. In recent years, especially through her insightful chronicles, where she looks at the Norwegian cultural development from an international intellectual perspective. She has also been a strong public defender of the humanities. Toril Moi brings theoretically grounded insights in an up-to-date manner, presented in a precise yet readable writing style. The Faculty of Humanities is very grateful that Moi, throughout her distinguished international career, has maintained collaboration with the university in several different capacities, and that we, through the years, on many occasions have had opportunity to benefit from her insights and professionalism. We sincerely hope that this cooperation will continue for many years to come. Toril, it is an honor for us to welcome you, and we are pleased that you have agreed to accept the token of our recognition and appreciation of your work. And I now ask Rector and the University Director to present you with your doctoral diploma and ring.
Upon the recommendation of the Faculty of Law, the University Board has decided to confer an honorary doctorate upon Professor Ragnhildur Helgadóttir. Would Professor Helgadóttir please now approach the podium? Professor Ragnhildur Helgadóttir earned her doctorate in 2004. The topic of her dissertation was the influence of American theories on judicial review in Nordic constitutional law. Judicial review is one of the classical research questions within constitutional law, which needs to be revisited frequently due to societal changes. The basic question is the distribution of power between the legislator, the parliament, and the courts. The members of the parliament are elected and have democratic legitimacy, while the judges are appointed. Still, the parliament must act within the frames of the constitution when introducing new legislation. In Norway and in Iceland, like in most European countries, the courts are the guardians of the Constitution. However, it varies from time to time whether the courts have used their competence to declare legislation invalid due to conflict with the Constitution. In recent times, at least in Norway, we have seen more and more examples of judicial review. And to remind you, law is not only about power, it is power, and judicial review is a striking example of that. The main area of research of Ragnhildur Helgadóttir is constitutional law, and she has distinguished herself as an innovative researcher pushing the boundaries of traditional legal research. Her new research revolves around issues such as religious freedom, protection of human dignity, the concept of sovereignty in Icelandic discourse. She is also a leading scholar within EEA law, a legal field which is only taught in Iceland, Liechtenstein, and Norway. It is perhaps an unusual topic, but it is vital for the countries concerned. And we have during the last days discussed scientific advice, and I can assure you that the leading scholars, such as Ragnhildur, within EEA law has a short journey from own research to impact of the politics of the countries concerned. In 2006, she became a full professor at the University of Reykjavik. She has on 2 occasions served as a judge in the Supreme Court of Iceland, and she is furthermore an alternative judge at the European Court of Human Rights. In addition, Ragnhildur Helgadóttir has served on the negotiations committee regarding the Icelandic membership application to the European Union. She has chaired numerous panels and committees, amongst them the Science and Technology Policy Council of Iceland. I first met Helgadóttir when she was in Bergen as one of the keynote speakers when we celebrated the bicentennial of our Constitution. Her contributions were analytical and with profound knowledge of the societal context and the particularities of the Nordic society. I have met you several times later in your capacity as a dean, but today you are not here due to your track record as an academic leader, but for your achievement as a scholar. It is an honor for us to welcome you, and we are pleased that you have agreed to accept the token of our recognition and appreciation of your work. And I now ask Rector and University Director to present you with your doctoral diploma and ring.
honored guests, Rector. Upon the recommendation of the Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Sciences, the University Board has decided to confer an honorary doctorate upon Professor Anne Canteaut. Would Professor Canteaut please now approach the podium? Professor Canteaut is one of the world-leading cryptographers and the head of science of the INRIA Paris Research Center. Professor Canteaut received her education in the computer science from the University Pierre and Marie Curie in Paris. She obtained a PhD degree in 1996 and a professorial degree in 2006. Professor Canteaut is an expert in cryptography. This is the branch of mathematics and computer science that deals with data protection and communications. Her work focuses on encryption algorithms, that is, processes that ensure the confidentiality of data by making it unintelligible except to legitimate users. This type of algorithms is used, for example, when exchanging sensitive information on the internet, or to prevent data transmitted over a wireless network from being intercepted by a malicious user. Professor Canteaut has designed new cryptographic algorithms, some of which are recommended after international standardization processes. In addition, she has been one of the pioneers in the field of cryptographic Boolean functions. In this field of research, she has solved many so-called hard mathematical problems that has been open for several decades. Professor Canteaut can certainly be named as one of the most inspiring female computer scientists in the world. Her talent and bold achievements have put her on the top list of scientists of her field of research and computer science in general, since the early stages of her career. In addition, she is very active in the dissemination of scientific knowledge to the general public. She raises public awareness of computer security issues through regular interventions, including presentations to young people. She also conducts various activities to increase interest in scientific studies and professions, particularly among young girls. Professor Canteaut has for many years collaborated with the Selmer Center at the Department of Informatics, University of Bergen. The scientific goals of the Selmer Center and Anne Canteaut's group are concentrated in the same area of research, namely the development and advancement of cryptography and Boolean functions. This provides ample opportunity for continuous successful collaboration between our two institutions in the future. And it is an honor for us to welcome you, and we are pleased that you have agreed to accept the token of recognition and appreciation of your work. And I now ask the Rector and the University Director to present you with your doctoral diploma and ring.
Honored guests, Rector. Upon the recommendation of the Faculty of Medicine, the University Board has decided to confer an honorary doctorate upon Professor Bruce Setter. Would Professor Setter please now approach the podium? Professor Bruce Setter is the Charles Novichemsky Professor of Cancer Biology at Harvard Medical School. A cancer researcher for more than 40 years, Dr. Setter is considered a pioneer in the fields of tumor angiogenesis and cancer metastasis. Working closely with Dr. Judah Folkman in the program of vascular biology at Boston Children's Hospital, he is credited with defining the role of cell migration in the development of metastatic cancers, developing novel biomarkers to predict patient outcomes, and developing new therapies for vascular malformations and for treating aggressive cancers. Noted for his creativity, Dr. Setter's writings and lectures have dramatically changed the thinking of the cancer research community. In addition to his research accomplishments, Dr. Setter has served as the Chief Scientific Officer and Vice President for Research at Boston Children's Hospital, and he is an advisor to numerous biotechnology companies and academic institutions worldwide, notably including the Norwegian Center of Excellence, Center of Cancer Biomarkers, CCBU, at the Faculty of Medicine of the University of Bergen. So, Bruce, it's an honor for us to welcome you, and we are pleased that you have agreed to accept this token of our recognition and appreciation of your work. And I now ask Rector and University Director to present you with your doctoral diploma and ring.
Honored guests, Rector, upon the recommendation of the Faculty of Psychology at the University of Bergen, the University Board has decided to confer an honorary doctorate upon Professor Jo-Anne Baird. Would Jo-Anne Baird please step forward to the podium? Jo-Anne Baird is an internationally renowned researcher in the field of educational assessment. She is the director of Department of Education at the University of Oxford and has produced over 100 books, articles, and reports on systemic issues in educational assessment. Jo-Anne received her education as a psychologist at the University of Strathclyde in Glasgow and studied under Professor Diane Berry at the Reading University for her doctorate. She works closely with policy matters and has held the position of standing advisor to the UK Parliament's House of Commons Education Select Committee. Her work on standard setting practices has been highly influential to the process of setting examination standards in England, and her recent landmark work extended the analysis to examination boards internationally, showing that practices were highly contextualized. In 2016, she was awarded Professor II at the University of Bergen's Faculty of Psychology and continues to collaborate on research in Bergen as well as leading research programs at Oxford. And it's an honor for us to welcome you, and we are pleased that you have agreed to accept the token of our recognition and appreciation of your work. And I now ask Rector and University Director to present you with your doctoral diploma and ring.
Honored guests, Rector, upon the recommendation of the Faculty of Social Sciences, the University Board has decided to confer an honorary doctorate upon
Professor Pippa Norris. Would Professor Norris now approach the podium? Professor Pippa Norris is the Paul F. McGuire Lecturer in Comparative Politics at the John F. Kennedy School of Government, Harvard University. Pippa Norris is born in England, and she holds a Bachelor of Arts in Politics and Philosophy from Warwick University, as well as a master's and doctoral degree in politics from the London School of Economics. Prior to joining Harvard in 1993, she taught politics at Edinburgh University. Pippa Norris is also a Professor of Government and International Relations at the University of Sydney, Director of the Electoral Integrity Project, and co-director of the TrustGov project. Pippa Norris' research is firmly placed within the political science and comparative politics. In her research, she compares public opinion and elections, political institutions and cultures, gender politics, and political communications in many countries worldwide. She publishes intensively and is, according to Google Scholar, ranked the 5th most cited political scientist worldwide. In 2012, Pippa Norris established the Electoral Integrity Project, an independent research project. She directs the research team based at the University of Sydney and Harvard's Kennedy School of Government. The project focuses on why elections fail, why this matters, and what can be done to strengthen integrity. The Electoral Integrity Project works with researchers in Mexico, Russia, India, and as well as with international agencies, including UN Women, the United Nations Entity for Gender Equality and Empowerment of Women, the UNDP, the UN Development Programme, the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, and the EU. All her work has made a tremendous effect on other scholars, including colleagues at the University of Bergen. Within several fields of political science, we will meet her work, being it on cultural values like populism, religion and trust, or on political representation. Students in their studies meet her scholarly work when using survey data, and within various topics, not least through her record of around 50 books. Just this year, her publications include a book on electoral integrity in America from Oxford University Press and the book Cultural Backlash from Columbia University Press with the subtitle Trump, Brexit and Authoritarian Populism. Professor Norris has previously visited our universities, and in 2004 she gave the yearly Rock-On lecture at the Department of Comparative Politics. On behalf of colleagues at the Social Science faculty, it is fair to say that your work has been and is of great value to us. Thus, it is an honor for us to welcome you, and we are pleased that you have agreed to accept the token of our recognition and appreciation of your work. And I will now ask the Rector and University Director to present you with your doctoral diploma and ring.
Honored guests, Rector, upon the recommendation of the Faculty of Fine Art, Music and Design, the University Board has decided to confer an honorary doctorate upon opera singer Lise Davidsen. It's not possible for Lise Davidsen to approach the podium because she is not present. She is actually performing in Paris this week. But some words from our recommendation. Lise Davidsen is educated at the University of Bergen, the Grieg Academy, and the Royal Danish Academy of Music.
She made her debut in Copenhagen at the Royal Danish Opera House in 2012. And she later had major roles on many opera scenes, including Opera Stuttgart, Operahaus Zürich, Bayerische Staatsoper, and not to forget Bayreuth. Lise Davidsen has also performed with London Philharmonic Orchestra, the Oslo Philharmonic Orchestra, Danish Radio Symphony Orchestra, Bergen Philharmonic Orchestra, the Toronto Symphony Orchestra, and many others. Lise Davidsen has won a number of prizes, like the Leonie Sonning Talent Prize, Danish Singers Award, first place in the Queen Sonja International Music Competition, first prize Operalia, triple winner in the Hans Gabo Belvedere singing competition in Amsterdam. In 2018, she was appointed the season's soloist profiled by the Bergen Philharmonic Orchestra and named Young Artist of the Year at the London Gramophone Awards. In May 2018, Lise Davidsen signed an exclusive recording contract with Decca Classics. Her first Decca album was released in May this year, and Gramophone magazine declared, quote, "This album only reinforces the fact that she is one of the greatest vocal talents to have emerged in recent years, if not decades." The album includes works by Strauss and Wagner performed with Philharmonia Orchestra, conducted by Esa-Pekka Salonen. It is an honor for us, and we are very pleased that Lise Davidsen has agreed to accept a token of our recognition and appreciation of her work. And she already got her diploma and ring when visiting Bergen a couple of weeks ago.
Honored guests, Rector, upon the recommendation of the University Museum, the University Board has decided to confer an honorary doctorate upon Professor Eamon Duffy. Would he please now approach the podium? Professor Eamon Duffy is Professor Emeritus at the University of Cambridge, and he earned his PhD in Church History in 1971. He has been at Cambridge University in UK since 1979, and since 1994 he holds a Cambridge Doctorate of Divinity. From 2003 he was Professor in the History of Christianity at Cambridge University, since 2014 Professor Emeritus. He is a fellow and former president of Magdalen College and was a member of the Pontifical Historical Commission in Rome 1999 to 2007. Eamon Duffy is honorary doctor at several institutions such as the University of Durham, King's College London, and the Pontifical Institute of Medieval Studies in Toronto. Eamon Duffy has contributed significantly to shape our current understanding of the 15th and 16th centuries in Europe and of the transition from late medieval to early modern society. In a number of important publications since his groundbreaking The Stripping of the Altars, Traditional Religion in England, 1400 to 1580, published in 1992, He has researched the role of faith and its expressions in the lives of ordinary people and the relations between people and ecclesial as well as secular authorities in England. Eamon Duffy's work has changed the overall narrative of the Reformation in England, conveying a new understanding of this important cultural change. On that subject, one might say that contemporary historians owe more to him than to any other scholar. Eamon Duffy has proved able to convey an understanding of how faith was embedded in people's lives so deeply that any extraction or even change of this existential component necessarily had far-reaching consequences for the very fabric of society and the overall relationship between man and the world in which he lives. For this, one needs a deeper understanding of the forces at play beyond reading scores of contemporary documents and the works of colleagues. Moreover, this is precisely the reason why the history of Christianity or ecclesiastical history is no exotic subspecies, but cannot be separated from European history as such. Balancing macro-historical and micro-historical aspects and presenting the delicate relationship of impulses between high and low, Eamon Duffy's scholarship has offered new and important insights to all scholars researching late medieval and early modern Northern Europe. It is an honor for us to welcome you, Professor Duffy, and we are pleased that you have agreed to accept the token of our recognition and appreciation of your work. I now ask Rector and University Director to present you with your doctoral diploma and ring.
Your Excellencies, honored guests, Rector. Upon the recommendation of the rectors, the University Board has decided to confer an honorary doctorate upon Professor Sir Peter Gluckman. Would Sir Peter please approach the podium? Sir Peter Gluckman holds a distinguished professorship at the Liggins Institute of the University of Auckland, New Zealand. And at present, he is also head of the University of Auckland Centre and Think Tank for Science in Policy, Diplomacy and Society. Sir Peter Gluckman is trained as pediatrician and biomedical scientist, and in 1988 he was appointed Professor of Pediatric and Perinatal Biology at the University of Auckland, where he later served as head of Department of Pediatrics, and from 1991 also as Dean at the Faculty of Medical and Health Sciences. In 2001, he became the founding director of the Liggins Institute, the University of Auckland's Research Institute for Multidisciplinary Research in Developmental Biology. And in 2003, Sir Peter Gluckman also founded the National Centre for Growth and Development, Gravida, where studies on developmental plasticity is still one of the major research areas. Sir Peter Gluckman has published more than 700 scientific papers, including numerous articles in the highest-ranked journals of science. Moreover, books and several presentations of popular science. The originality and thematic extensiveness of Sir Peter Gluckman's research is extraordinary, spanning from basic to applied clinical research, from perinatal and developmental physiology and neuroscience, as well as pediatric endocrinology, to epigenetics, evolutionary biology, and their effects on human health. His significant contributions on the mechanisms of children's growth and development have laid the foundation for many of aspects of our current understanding of what gives us humans a healthy start in life, but also what does not. This includes, for instance, how and why a mother's intrauterine environment from conception of a fetus to birth influences a baby's development, but also lifelong health, for instance related to development of diseases like obesity, cardiovascular disease, or diabetes. It should also be added that many of Sir Peter Gluckman's scientific findings have led to innovations forming the basis of biotechnology companies, as well as practical clinical procedures which are today standard methods and worldwide implemented. Sir Peter Gluckman chaired the WHO Commission of Ending Obesity, Childhood Obesity from 2014 to 2017, and in addition to his New Zealand position, he holds honorary chairs at the University College London, University of Southampton, and the National University of Singapore. As an international advocate for science, Sir Peter Gluckman has for many years been instrumental in promoting the translation of discoveries in research into societal development. From 2009 to 2018, he served as the first Chief Science Advisor to the Prime Minister of New Zealand. And at present, Sir Peter is chair of the International Network for Government Science Advice and president-elect of the International Science Council to assume presidency in 2021. His broad commitment and work for the relevance of science-society interactions have made him one of the most influential academics and spokespersons for science advice and diplomacy of our time. So Peter Gluckman has received the highest scientific and civilian orders and honors in New Zealand, as well as numerous international scientific awards. In 2016, he also received the American Association for the Advancement of Science Award in Science Diplomacy, and is fellow or member of several international societies in science. So Peter, it's therefore an honor for the University of Bergen to welcome you. We are very pleased that you have agreed to accept the token of our recognition and appreciation for your work. And you will now be presented with a doctoral diploma and a ring.
Honorary doctors, honored guests, rector. Upon the recommendation of the rectors, the University Board has decided to confer an honorary doctorate upon Ambassador Peter Thomson. Would Ambassador Peter Thomson please now approach the podium? Ambassador Peter Thomson, born 1948, is a Fijian diplomat. He is the United Nations Secretary General's Special Envoy for the Ocean, working for the global mobilization of action for Sustainable Development Goal number 14, known as Life Under Water, which aim is to conserve and to sustainably use the oceans, the seas, marine resources for sustainable development. Ambassador Thomson was appointed this role in 2017 by the United Nations Secretary General Guterres to lead the United Nations advocacy and public outreach efforts inside and outside of the United Nations system, with a specific mandate to analyze and implement the over 1,500 voluntary commitments of the 2017 UN Ocean Conference. In this endeavor, He collaborates with civil society, the scientific community, the private sector, and other relevant stakeholders to encourage their activities in support of the implementation of Sustainable Development Goal number 14. Ambassador Thomson is a strong advocate for the roles of science and universities in contributing to sustainable development and global diplomacy. Born and raised in Fiji and receiving his higher education in New Zealand and the United Kingdom, Thomson has a long career in government, rural development, business, and diplomacy. At home, in New Zealand, Australia, and globally, before taking up the post as Fiji's ambassador to the United Nations in 2010. In this capacity, Thomson was a central representative for the developing world in the process of creating the 2030 Agenda and its 17 Sustainable Development Goals. For his work, Ambassador Peter Thomson in 2014 received the award of Officer of the Order of Fiji, which is an order presented for the achievement and merit to Fiji, but also to mankind as a whole. In 2016-17, Thomson was the 71st President of the United Nations General Assembly, and in 2017 he organized the UN Ocean Conference I referred to. While President of the General Assembly, he actively called on the close involvement of universities worldwide for their engagement in global partnerships for sustainable development, an effort he has further developed in his work as Special Envoy for the Ocean. In this role, as President of the UN General Assembly, Ambassador Peter Thomson in April 2017 wrote a letter to all leaders of higher education institutions around the world, asking for the Sustainable Development Goals to be made an integral part of research, teaching, and study. And in his letter, Thomson called for knowledge, education, research, and university leadership for a sustainable future. The University of Bergen was inspired and stimulated by this initiative and offered our expertise and capacities. A year and a half after Ambassador Thomson sent his letter, on the United Nations Day of 24th of October 2018, the University of Bergen was awarded hub status for Sustainable Development Goal number 14 by United Nations Academic Impact, UNI, which is an initiative that aligns institutions of higher education with the United Nations in supporting and contributing to the realization of the UN goals and mandates. A month later, the University of Bergen was announced as part of the International Association of Universities' Sustainable Development Goal cluster, with special responsibility and leadership, again for the Sustainable Development Goal number 14, life below water. Ambassador Peter Thomson, his capacity and outstanding work is highly inspirational, not only to the University of Bergen, as already outlined, but also to higher education and research as such, along with the rest of society, and thereby all of us in our endeavor to contribute our expertise and capacity for a sustainable development. Therefore, it is an honor for us, and we are very pleased that Ambassador Thomson has agreed to accept the token of our recognition and appreciation. And I now ask the Rector and the University Director to present you with a doctoral diploma and ring.
Edvard Grieg, the Holberg Suite, masterly performed by Christian Grøvlen. He played Preludium, Air, and Rigaudon from the Holberg Suite. It is now a great honor and pleasure for me to introduce Sir Peter Gluckman, who will give a speech on behalf of our new honorary doctors.
Rector, fellow honorees, members of this university, which is now our university as well, let me greet you in Maori, the first language of my country. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. And let me follow that with a proverb, a whakataki in Maori. He aha te mea pai a te o. He tangata, he tangata, he tangata. What is the greatest good of the world? Humanity, humanity, humanity. And that's why we're here today, to celebrate the many aspects of humanity that universities represent. I've been asked to speak to you today on behalf of the 10 of us who you're honouring today. I suspect the only reason I've been asked is because I've come the furthest, just a mere 17,282 kilometres to be precise. We're a diverse group, scholars from the natural sciences, from the data sciences, from the medical sciences, the social sciences, the humanities, from diplomacy and from music. There are very few direct connections between us, but we're brought here together by this university, and for that we're all very grateful. For recognition by our peers is very special. That we are such a diverse group reflects on the qualities of this and other world-ranked research-focused universities. For the strength of university lies in its diversity. What Bartlett Giamatti, a former president of Yale, once called a free and ordered space. But while universities, like other institutions, evolve, its core role of being the champion of liberal education, dedicated to learning for its own sake, to the development of knowledge and understanding, to the translation to cultural, social, economic and environmental good, remains critical. The research university remains and must remain a bastion of knowledge and learnings free from the menace of ideologies. And at its heart is its diversity, a diversity of its epistemologies, cultures and knowledges. And that's both its strength and its challenge. And the importance of the university's core role grows as we look at the issues of today and tomorrow. The world is undergoing transitions with speed and pervasiveness that's not been seen before in our 500,000 year history as a species. Humans uniquely evolve with the capacities to cumulatively learn and innovate, to collectively develop and store knowledge, and to make things. Our big brains and our language skills and our technological capacities allow us to have a form of evolution not seen in other species, our cultural evolution. And the question now arises, where is that cultural evolution taking us? In many ways, those of us being honoured today are examining different perspectives of this question. In contrast to our biological evolution, our more recent cultural evolution has not been about our survival as a species, but rather about seeking to change the quality of our lives. As humans evolve, we develop technologies to modify our environment, yet these innovations are increasingly affecting our behaviour, our biology and society. Now we must figure out how to function in the world we have created. Over thousands of years, humans have invented ingenious ways to gain mastery over our environment. The ability to communicate, to accumulate knowledge and build on previous innovations has enabled us to change nature. Innovation has allowed us to thrive. But the trouble with innovation is that we can seldom go back and undo it. We invent, embrace, and exploit new technologies to modify our environment. Then we modify those technologies to cope with the resulting impacts. But is there a limit to this technological arms race? Is nature biting back? Our ingenuity has not only changed our world, it is changing us. Technology and knowledge have driven the rise in the planet's population. Technology has driven climate change and its downstream impacts. These have driven the loss of biodiversity, and then there's the digital revolution. In its broadest sense, it's changing our institutions of self, our institutions of social life, and our institutions of civic life. And that technological transformation shows no sign of slowing. We can already see its probable impacts on mental health, especially in young people, on social interactions, on social cohesion, on the relationship between the citizen and the state, even though at the same time we rejoice in it as a communication tool and as a source of knowledge. But it's that source of knowledge that generates a further existential threat to us, because the issue of what is real, what is reliable knowledge, and what is not, is now so dominant that the basic institutions of liberal democracies and their social cohesion could be threatened. It's not a matter of being pessimistic or techno-enthusiastic. We must be pragmatic because technological advances are likely unstoppable. And it behoves us to think through the importance of education, of supporting critical thinking, and how our core institutions will need to evolve to keep our species, our society, and our planet salient in the face of these enormous challenges. And here universities such as Bergen will have their most critical role. Only they can bring the needed marriage between disciplines to allow us to better understand what is going on. Natural, digital, medical, social, and political sciences must work together in a transdisciplinary manner to create a platform of reality, and the natural sciences, social sciences, and humanities must help us work out to consider what we are now and what we might be. Only through critical thinking across disciplines can we navigate through this perfect storm of existential challenges, technological, demographic, environmental, and social. I may be biased, but I do believe that small countries like Norway, like New Zealand, have a particular role to play. We have no confounding geostrategic desires, and we can create dialogues between all the relevant actors in a way that large countries cannot. We have to be more strategic as countries because size does not offer us any buffers. We're not just the canaries in the mine, we have the headlights to see the way ahead. And the University of Bergen can be proud of how it is contributing to global thinking and leadership in these issues. Indeed, my own loose association is through your acclaimed Centre for the Study of Sciences and the Humanities. It, perhaps more than many other centres, is challenging the problem of disciplinary silos, of the dangers of siloed elitism in knowledge generation and application. But in finishing, let me again finish with another Maori proverb, a whakatauki, which all our honorees would be honoured and would fully subscribe to. Haere whai I te waiwai o enuku, ki aora ai te tangata. Good fortune comes to a person from the memory of going to the feet of Enuku, who was a famous man. You've all of us are here today because we too sat at the feet of others who inspired us, who taught us, and we have the obligation to do the same for the next generation. You've honoured us today. We're all humbled and privileged to now be graduates of such a fine and ordered space, a champion of critical thinking, research, and education. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your inspiring speech, Sir Peter. This ceremony has come to an end. After the academic procession, you are all invited to a reception at the Christi Café. So thank you all for attending, and to our new honorary doctors, thank you for accepting the awards and congratulations.